It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. Coming up, Windows on ARM. Is it DOA? The revelations about Microsoft's exclusive deal with Qualcomm may change a lot of things. We'll also talk about Dell and HP. They had a very good quarter. The Xbox Black Friday sale is coming up. And then it's a very special visit. A visitor from the East will join us with a cocktail of the week. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 752, recorded Wednesday, November 24th, 2021. Smushed. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Barracuda. Every 11 seconds, there's a new ransomware attack, costing companies millions of dollars. Barracuda says, don't pay the ransom. Build your ransomware protection plan now. Go to barracuda.com/Windows. And by Akamai. Akamai powers and protects life online and is changing how we live, work, and play. See how Akamai is unleashing the Internet of Possibilities for the biggest brands in the world. Visit akamai.com/WW to learn more. And by Udacity. Udacity offers online education that's geared toward people looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit to learn more. It's time for Windows Weekly, the pre-Thanksgiving edition. I'm just thankful that Paul and Mary Jo didn't leave early because I was late, and if you'd gone home, I would have had to do it all by myself, and I know nothing. Nothing. Paul Thurrott knows everything. He's at Thurrott.com. Mary Jo Foley, too. She's at allaboutmicrosoft.com, and you are the Windows experts, and I'm glad you're here. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. Are you preparing the feast as we speak?
I'm watching my wife prepare the feast.
You know it's a big feast when you work the day before.
Exactly.
My wife started brining the turkey 3 days ago.
I saw the brining plans. Yes. Yes. Looks like you have
25 pounds.
all the salt in China there.
25.5 pounds.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't think that's the biggest we've had, but it's pretty big.
How big was the turkey in A Christmas Carol? It was a Christmas goose. Was it 30 pounds?
Christmas goose would be good.
Ooh, yeah. We're doing ham and steak.
Jeez.
Nice.
Wow.
Turkey.
Nobody wants turkey, I guess.
We go all traditional on Thanksgiving.
I would, but there's no point in making a turkey if no one will eat it.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
I eat it for the next week.
Well, the ham we're going to eat till the next week for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's a big
like a honey of a ham kind of thing.
No, I don't do that. I get the raw ham so I can honey it all myself. This is a Kurabata ham from Snake River Farms. It'll be very tasty.
Pineapple, brown sugar.
I don't think I'm going to do pineapple, but I am going to do. I have apple cider. I think I'm thinking apple maple
that's good.
glaze.
I was just going to say maple.
Doesn't that sound
would make
good?
a lot of sense.
Yeah, you crisscross it and you dunk it, and you don't have to brine a ham. That's the beauty of a ham. But I'm smoking it. And then the steak, we're just going to sous vide that ahead of time. But tonight I'll be making popover batter because you can keep that overnight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to clear the decks and make a German chocolate cake tonight for Michael's birthday.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Tonight's my daughter's birthday as well, and
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
hopefully my son makes it home because we have reservations this evening. But I guess we'll see.
Are you going to what is that place you go? I love that place.
Oh, the Trapdoor?
The Trapdoor.
No, they're not open tonight.
Oh man.
Oh.
That would have been the pick.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing how Lower Macungie has some of the finest restaurants in America.
That might technically be Emmaus, but yeah, it's not. It's hard to say.
Well, I hope so. We were talking before the show. Paul's son is suffering with a flat tire somewhere in the wilds of Virginia. Where is
we're doing our upstate New York? So, yeah, this is our version of planes, trains, and automobiles, except it's just automobiles, and praying, basically.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers that you don't have to make a trip up to Albany, Schenectady.
Right, and then I'll break down because our car's all screwed up. That'll be quite the Thanksgiving, let me tell you.
It would.
Yikes.
Yep.
man.
I see a movie script in the making. That's good.
How much is an Uber ride from Syracuse to? I see.
Can I be John Candy?
Driving in a blown up car, convertible, no roof.
WOA DOA. That's the headline. So
With a question mark.
So I'm hoping not. I took this. So Qualcomm admitted at their event this week what had been rumored, I think by Bloomberg, that they had a deal with Microsoft that Windows on ARM should only run on Qualcomm chips.
Yeah.
Yep. This is actually XDA developers.
Oh, that's right. It was XDA developers. Thank you. Let's give them.
We confuse them with Bloomberg all the time.
No, please no. XDA is reliable and good, and that was a good scoop. Thank you for correcting me. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
And Rich Woods, by the way, is a friend of ours. I guess I just before we get into what's happening, I just look at this historically because the way that Windows on ARM has gone, or as Qualcomm would call it, Windows on Snapdragon, right? You don't really, they don't really call it.
It's not just ARM; it's Snapdragon.
The promise was always that it would run on multiple ARM chipsets, but the reality is Qualcomm is the only major player. And I've told the story before, but just really quick to recap it. Terry Myerson wanted Intel to have some kind of competition. And Intel wasn't doing what Microsoft wanted in delivering these really thin, light, power-efficient designs.
When was this? What year was this? 2018?
Well, they announced it.
2015.
They announced it
15. Oh, so it's a long time ago.
I thought, it's,
They announced it in
was
16. Yeah.
in 16.
Samsung was making ARM chips in its Exynos. MediaTek was around. I mean, there were other ARMs. They weren't probably as good as Qualcomm's, but
the trick is we have to get this thing to work with a legacy operating system that's based on a very specific x86 architecture. There's a whole level of compatibility and performance that has to happen for this thing to be viable. So you need like one of the really big firms, and Qualcomm, I don't know at the time, but certainly since then has really bifurcated their processor design so they have different sets of chips for IoT, wearables, smartphones, tablets, computers, et cetera. So they're they're getting into cars. I think they said last week. Anyway, the point of this is when you want to go head to head with Intel and give them competition, you have to have someone of scale that has scale. Yeah. And there really aren't that many companies that have that. So I think Qualcomm was the obvious choice. We can kind of quibble over how they've done. Actually, I think we're all in agreement, but we can discuss that. But they were really the only viable option, right? So I think Microsoft did the right thing. And I said this at the time, I have no idea why Qualcomm would even want this. The PC market, the potential size of the market they can serve is so much smaller than any other market that they think about or worry about or compete in. It just almost doesn't make sense to me. But my God, have they invested a lot of time and money in this. So anyway, I'm sorry. That's the background.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about the timing, we were mentioning Samsung. At that time, Microsoft and Samsung were like super bitter enemies, right? They were in all these antitrust suits. And it's like, you're not going to go to Samsung and go, hey, you want to partner with us on ARM?
Samsung and Microsoft are kind of partners when it is convenient.
When it's
right.
Exactly. Right.
Every once in a while, they'll say, oh, yeah, we've had this partnership for years. We're best buddies. We send each other little presents at Christmas and everything. And it's like, I don't really see it like that. But, whatever. Every once in a while, a phone thing will happen. There'll be a couple of Microsoft apps. Samsung will put out some computers. They have a Windows and ARM computer right now. That's actually, by the way, not a bad deal if you want a little piece of crap. But it's, that's, they're there, right? I mean, they do stuff together for sure.
But the Windows on ARM devices we've seen have been not so inspiring.
No, they've been terrible. And also, back to why did Qualcomm agree to do this? If it was an exclusive, like XDA says, we don't know how much money Microsoft gave them, if any. They might have paid them to make it, right? Like they might have. Oh yeah,
they could have paid them a significant amount of money. For sure. Maybe. I could see that. And they had to have some kind of buy-in or implicit, if not explicit, agreement from some number of PC makers. And you could see who did these things. You're going to come out with devices based on this chipset, right? HP was like, you betcha. Lenovo was like, you betcha. Dell was like, what's this now? What's happening? No, we're not doing that. It's interesting. And then a couple of smaller players. I think that maybe there might have been an Asus or I can't remember who else has come out with some of these things over time. But basically, it's HP and Lenovo, right? Two biggest PC makers in the world. Also, I think it's notable that the two companies, especially Lenovo, by the way, that experiment the most with form factors and different designs and things. Like, they have one of the laptops I'm reviewing now is a ThinkBook that has an e-ink screen on the outside of the display panel. Which is honestly kind of ludicrous, but
kind of weird.
It's dopey, but I give them credit for trying, and that's the type of company that would take a chance on Windows and ARM, and I'm sure that's really paid off for them.
So the reason everybody's pondering, is WOA DOA now is because XDA comes out with this thing saying, hey, they had this exclusive, but now the market's going to open up to all these other chip vendors because the exclusive is ending very soon. And MediaTek recently announced, okay, we're willing to partner with Microsoft on some ARM stuff. Sure, why not?
By the way, which is crazy. This is like finding out someone is a serial killer, and it's like, they're getting out of jail. I might want to date that guy. Like what form of history has suggested that this might be smart? And honestly, what it kind of boils down to is this understanding, which, by the way, I completely disagree with, that ARM is the definite future of the PC industry. Like, there is no other alternative. The whole world's going ARM, so the PC has to go ARM too.
Right. No, this came out really, once Apple was all in on ARM, everybody who is considered like industry watchers, right? They're like, well, Apple did it, so now Microsoft has to do it, right? They're very different companies. I kept saying to people, just because Apple does something doesn't mean Microsoft could, should, or would do it also. Right. Like, Microsoft's not doing it because Apple did it.
That's exactly. Well, Microsoft has a rich history of doing that, but
they do.
But Apple being successful doing something doesn't mean anyone else can be successful doing the same thing. Microsoft's entire history, and PC specifically, has been built on partnership. This is a partnership on the silicon level with microprocessor makers, a partnership in the PC maker level, the people that actually sell these products to computers. And then they have a partnership with their enterprise customers as well, which is kind of a different thing that also helps guide the development of these things. Apple is one lane our way, and when they do partner, they do it begrudgingly, and they do it with an eye for getting rid of those partners down the road because they want all of the pieces of the pie to themselves, and they're very successful at it. I don't mean this like in a jerky way. I mean, it works for them. It's Apple's success with the M1 is what Apple does. I mean, they're impressive in that way. But Apple also doesn't worry about backward compatibility all that much, does it?
Right.
And the reality of the PC market is the things that don't make Windows and ARM work, or that won't make ARM work on the PC, is a condition that doesn't exist on the Mac.
Exactly.
We're protecting decades and decades of backward compatibility that Microsoft's most important customers, which are businesses, not people, demand. And there's also an expectation, I think, across the PC user base that stupid financial package I bought in 1993 and never upgraded will always work. And this is the reality of that market.
It is.
So it's a different world.
Apple also spent millions over the last 10 years, billions maybe, acquiring. They bought PA Risk. They have 1,000, it's rumored, chip engineers. Yeah. This isn't something you flip a switch and suddenly you got a chip.
No.
Who has spent that kind of money on hardware, by the way? I'm sorry, just Intel? Yeah. AMD to a lesser degree, and Qualcomm, which bought Nuvia, which is the new great hope of the Windows and ARM movement. Microsoft, not so much. Not that they don't buy hardware companies, right? I'm sorry, is that what you're going to say?
No, but what I was going to say is Microsoft has a lot of people working on chips inside Microsoft. Like, I don't know the number of people, but it's substantial, right? And a lot of that work is in servers, but not all of it. And there's a whole chip division inside of Windows where people are learning to make silicon for Windows, right? So it's not like they're coming out of it from nowhere. But
and the other side of that argument is, if you're going to do this, you should be this Apple's advantage is they're a full stack company.
Yeah, they're all in,
everything.
literally.
They make the hardware.
Yes. Yeah.
They've even said we're not going to be using Qualcomm chips in our Qualcomm said this in our modems.
That's to my point exactly. If they have to partner with anybody on anything, they already have the roadmap where they're getting rid of that partner. This is a temporary condition. We will replace you. This is how they think.
Yeah.
Microsoft, part of like the Qualcomm agreement with Microsoft could have been tied to certain, hitting certain levels of performance or compatibility or whatever it might be that hasn't happened yet. That may have literally triggered the Nuvia acquisition by Qualcomm. You can't claim that this thing has been super successful so far. Why would you invest this much money?
Is it possible it's really more for the server room than anything else? That's probably the case, right?
Right. Well, they're doing
a
lot with servers.
And there's I see a lot of ARM in network operations centers. There's a lot of
No. I'm sorry. I want to be really clear about this. ARM is the future of computing, period. It really is. It's just that Windows in particular and PCs are so specific of a need and so specific of a workload, if you will, that I don't know that by the time you transform ARM into something that can run x86 acceptably well and still deliver a certain level of battery life or whatever, you're gonna find that things aren't quite as efficient as they used to be. Like what's the point of going through this? It's never going to be 100% compatible. It's never going to have 100% of the performance. The better outcome here, and this was really the point of this partnership with Qualcomm, not that Qualcomm wants to hear this, it was to get Intel to get their butts in gear and do the right thing for the marketplace and deliver more efficient chipsets that can drive more efficient computers that could be fanless and silent and 25 hours of battery life or whatever it is, and still run all the stuff that we all expect to run. I think that is a far more likely outcome. I've always thought that, but now that Pat Gelsinger is in charge of Intel, they're making all these investments in fabs and advancing advancing their chipset designs and lowering the nanometer count and getting to these big little designs. I think the more likely outcome is that, well, there'll be a mix of products, of course, but I think Intel gets their act together, and it just makes the ARM thing unnecessary on Windows. But our phones and our tablets, our IoT devices, our servers, and Macs, if you're an Apple guy, it's fine. Those are all running on ARM. And I just described what will eventually be like 90% of the world, So I just feel like, what's the point of doing this to a legacy architecture, legacy platform? What's the point? Like what do we lose in our in our mad bid to get to this point? It doesn't make any sense.
So it's taken them 5 years to get emulations even sort of right on ARM for Windows, right? It just happened this year that they got x64 emulation on ARM. Okay, they've been trying that for the past 5 years and they finally got to it. But I keep thinking, what if now that they kind of achieved that goal, if it's almost moot, right? Like they've got Windows 365, which is the cloud PC platform. They've got Azure Virtual Desktop. Like what if they just say, okay, you know what? What if we just give you guys a cloud platform or VM to run these apps on?
Then it is running on ARM.
There you go. Right.
Here's the goofy thing, and this is confusing, but it needs to be stated. If you ever run Windows 10 or now Windows 11 on ARM in virtualized on an M1 base Mac, it's excellent. It is in many ways. It's a goofy thing to say, but it is in many ways better than the experience of running it on native hardware. And part of the reason for that is nobody who does this today, like this is not 1999 or 2005 or whatever. When you're virtualizing Windows on a Mac, you're doing it for a very specific reason. You could be a developer, who needs to test things on different platforms or whatever. More likely, you're an enterprise user. You have one app. It's just one app. Yeah. You don't care about Windows. You don't care about all the stuff that comes in Windows. You don't care about drivers. You don't care about whatever. You just want one app. Your company's going to send you an app. It runs. You've got Mac stuff going on, and this is one Windows app. It just looks normal. It's fine. Yeah. And honestly, for that kind of thing, assuming you can get it to run on Windows and ARM, which I get, kind of an open question, but you probably can. It runs great. It's fine. It's completely unofficial and unsupported, and Microsoft is not letting that happen. But by the way, that Qualcomm agreement is the suspected reason for that. I think you may recall. I think back in August, September, maybe I had been told by a source I trust that Microsoft was getting ready to okay Windows 11, I guess it was at the time, on ARM. For this purpose, for virtualizing it on the M1. And September came and went, and that never happened. In fact, Microsoft came out with code like, no, that's an unsupported scenario, I think is the way they put it.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm wondering if both those things are not contradictory, that this is still coming, but it is based on the end of this Qualcomm exclusivity arrangement.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That could be, right. That totally could be. Yeah, you know, I just had a lot of hopes for ARM originally when the first ARM PCs started coming out, that it would have this like crazy battery life like they kept promising, right? Like even I think Surface Pro X, the newest one, they promised like 16 or 18 hours of battery life. It doesn't get
the first ones were
that.
more. The first ones were over 20.
It was 20 something, right? No one ever got that. Just to be clear, except maybe Paul. Well, Paul might.
They were, they got really good battery life. But
I
but
never
at the
got
expense
good battery
of
life on any of these.
No, but this is like my phone gets great battery life. So what? How does it run Windows applications? It doesn't. Well, there you go. So I guess if you want to run Notepad really slowly on a device that runs for 22 hours at a time, I guess you have a solution. But
no, I always tell people the two things I care about whenever I'm talking about PCs, and I have a unique set of requirements. Yes, Notepad, but is battery life, like excellent battery life, like where I don't have to carry a charger with me, and I'm not afraid that by the end of the day I'll need it. And thin and light. So I really had high hopes for ARM. I'm like, okay, this is where it's going to finally happen. This is where Windows is going to actually be usable on a true thin and light device. And then it just fizzled. Right. And now I just don't see why you would even want ARM. No, see, everybody says that. They're like, if you care about battery life, you should get a MacBook. And I'm like, so that's not going to happen.
Having used a Mac, I can understand why you're not doing that. But I know. I just don't like that.
Wow.
So
usually that's my line. But.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that. I love everything about my M1 Macs. They're amazing.
So
and by the way, there's a Notepad-like app that comes with the Mac. So
it's not Notepad itself.
It's just text edit.
It's the same thing.
Text edit,
Guys,
it does, but it does rich text by default. It's not the same.
Oh well, that's not good. Emacs is available on every platform, and it's just fabulous.
So anywho, you could virtualize Windows and still use Notepad, right? That would work.
Yeah, right.
That's a goofy reason to virtualize Windows, but that would work.
It is. It is.
I just,
you know what I've started using, by the way? Hold on. This is like sort of tangentially related. I've started using Google Keep on my Pixel.
It's pretty good.
Because it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, wait, this is okay.
You could write on that, to be honest, but
you kind of could.
It's great for grocery lists because it can tell your location. So when your Pixel gets near the market, it says, hey, don't forget to buy cranberry sauce.
Is there like a web client for this?
Yep.
Windows Weekly is switching to Google Keep. You heard it here first.
All right.
It's on the
it's
not structured like OneNote. I mean, it's very unstructured, but that's kind of the
and
ideal.
OneNote's overkill for us.
Yeah.
I always think we could use Notepad.
Keep is great. It's Pixel, but it's also iOS. It's also Mac. It's also Windows. It's completely cross-platform. Web. I mean, I think it's a good choice.
I'm looking for something more in the Markdown vein.
Can I recommend Obsidian? Syncs, completely cross-platform. Obsidian would be great for your show notes if you like Markdown.
What is Obsidian?
It's a free note-taking, cross-platform note-taking app. There's a paid version. I pay for kind of a supporter level for sync and stuff like that.
It's Markdown based?
Completely. It's beautiful, and there's a very active community, so there's lots of plugins for it. Obsidian.md.
Yeah, no, I found it. I'm .md, very good. So how have I not heard of this?
I'm surprised. I talk about it incessantly. You're obviously
that must be why.
Closes his ears when you do this. It's like la 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 la.
No, I went down the rabbit hole, and it is a deep, long, dark tunnel of note-taking apps.
Yeah.
And I have tried them all, and they're Notion and Roam and Emacs org mode, and
I'm talking about like Bear and Ulysses
all of them.
There's a million of these things.
So I think Obsidian, after this long and fruitless search, has really become my home. But it takes a little. It's usable out of the box, but to get the most out of it, you got to look at the plugins. There's a lot of community plugins and customize it. But it's a really nice tool. I think it's great, and the sync makes it. Let me think how you guys could work together. Yeah, you could have a shared notebook, just like we do now. You can you can have a shared notebook that's independent of your personal notebook, even.
Is there co-authoring?
Oh, I don't think so. Actually, I don't know if it's designed.
Well, there isn't in OneNote either, so that's fine.
That's exactly
as we've learned every
Supposedly
time I
there
mess
is.
with it. Yeah. Why don't you use
We
Google?
never can make it work.
Not just Keep, but just Google Docs or
I
something.
know.
Like that.
I don't like Google Docs. There's something about it. I just don't like it.
Because that's
reminds me of OneNote
designed for
in a
that.
way.
Well, it is. I don't like it that much either, but it's what we use. All the other shows use Google Sheets for the rundowns, as you probably both know.
Yeah, no, I've seen that, and I completely understand it. I don't think that way, and I can't.
Same. I
just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm too creative for a spreadsheet, guys. I don't know what it is. I just
No, I don't like it that
I
much.
see a spreadsheet, and I just don't.
I hate spreadsheets.
Yeah,
I hate spreadsheets.
I don't like it that much, but we've kind of settled on it. We use it
I'm
more
a big
like a
fan
database.
of grids.
I like that's
graph
basically
paper.
it. That's what we use it as a grid. We don't use any functions.
Yeah, I don't. But I see when I've seen. I've done some of the other shows, and it's like I appreciate the organization of it. I get it. For me, I don't know. It's not the way I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, to get back to the ARM thing real quick, sorry, or maybe to wrap it up even. The one thing I just would point people to, and I think once you kind of hear this, if it hasn't occurred to you, you'll at least agree. Even on the Apple side, Apple's done better than the best possible job. I don't think anyone expected this M1 stuff to be this good. It's amazing what they've done. But if you look at the new MacBook Pros, which is like what, M1 Pro and M1 Max or something, the names of the processors, these things are considerably thicker than previous MacBooks, and they have active cooling. So they're tremendous computers. They're arguably portable workstations, at least the Max version. However, even they are running into limitations on thermals and efficiency and all that kind of stuff. Now, these things probably get great battery life, compared to Macs of the past, and that's fine. But they're also, they're much bigger. And isn't the point of what we're shooting for here on the Windows side anyway, to get thinner and lighter and thinner and lighter? Weren't we going in that direction? I mean, if you want a like a big, thick, portable workstation, I've got a ThinkPad over here that you're going to love. Yeah. It sounds like a hissing snake the entire time you're using it, and maybe that's the advantage, I guess. But they're running into the same physics issues, because you can adapt or adopt all of those things that are great about the platform you're trying to emulate, but at the end of the day, do you lose the things that are special about the platform you started on? And I think that's that is the fear I have for ARM on Windows, which is just that if this thing can be made to run x86 code as well as an actual x86 chip, but it requires active cooling and is not thin and light and fanless and only gets 10 hours of battery, not 20 or whatever the number is. Yeah. Why did we just waste a decade of our lives doing this? We already had that.
Yep.
Yep. Plus the thing we already had is fully compatible, has all those drivers that will never work on ARM, no matter x86, x64, whatever, and doesn't require any emulation. There's no questions. When you buy a computer based on an Intel chipset, it's going to work every time. I don't know. We'll see.
Come on, Pat Gelsinger. I'm voting for Pat Gelsinger.
Come on. Look, honestly, I give Terry Myerson, if you want to credit him, or Windows or Microsoft at the time, whatever it was, they wanted to get Windows to a place that I think we do need to get to. And if they force Intel's hand and all that ends up is Intel made more efficient chips, guess what? We still won. If we do go to ARM, I mean, I guess there's an outside chance that could still happen. Okay, we won there too. It's fine. Either way, right? We're just looking for the battery life. We're looking for the efficiency. What was the thing Apple used to talk about? Like power per watt or something, or performance per watt or some, whatever that was.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's amazing about these new Apple Silicon chips, that their TPU is so low. They're performing as well as a desktop, almost as well as a desktop NVIDIA 3080.
This is electric car versus
it's kind of like
the
that
big block V8, you know?
Yeah.
I have an Intel 45 watt chip, Leo, that will spin its wheels and generate a lot of smoke. But,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does this, so what is the Do you have any insight into the termination date of this deal with Qualcomm?
No.
Because that's what people
but
are
it's
wondering.
supposed to be soon.
Yeah.
Soon, quote unquote. Yeah.
Soon. Well, let's think about the dates. I mean, they announced it in 2016. It's 2021. That's 5 years. 5 years is a pretty round number, isn't it? Or is it 5 years from the release of the first silicon and the first machines? If so, that will be this time next year, I guess, or maybe mid-year next year. I don't remember exactly, but
Apple people are interested in that as well because there's this thought that, well, once that deal expires, Microsoft could maybe make Windows run nicely on an M1, which would solve all of your woes, right? For years, the MacBook was a great way to run Windows.
But what does that? Yeah, but what does that mean? So Apple doesn't support Boot Camp anymore on M1s,
right? You have to run it in virtualization. That's the only way you can run it. It has to be WOA.
Yeah, that already works great.
Beta of WOA.
But it has to be a Windows Insider version of WOA. So this would make it a supported scenario. And honestly, I can't believe Microsoft wouldn't do this. I can't believe they wouldn't do it. It just...
That would make everybody a lot happier, to be honest.
I think it's what Microsoft wants. When they came up with that statement, it was like, what are they doing? Like, and it has to be. This is like conspiracy theory territory, I'm so strongly against this line of thinking, and I just did it myself. It's so easy to fall into, but there has to be a reason, right? And it has to make sense to me, and that's how conspiracy theories start. But it just seems to me logically like Microsoft must want Windows running on the Mac. I can't imagine why Apple would want it, but Apple has publicly said, yeah, great, go and do it. We don't care. This is a weird example of Apple being far more open about something than Microsoft is. That's not the usuals, usually how that goes. So we'll see. I hope it happens. Yeah. MediaTek, Samsung wanting to get into this market, spare me. Just spare me. When was the last? Is there a person on Earth who ever thought of MediaTek and had a positive unicorn sunshine thing go through their head? I mean, give me a break.
But Samsung, maybe. They just announced they're building a $17 billion plant in Texas. Sure. I think they really want to be in the ARM race.
No, isn't AMD doing ARM also, or am I?
So there's a rumor that AMD is working with Microsoft on an ARM-based design.
On ARM, right?
And the real dark horse, I don't think it's going to go through now, but is NVIDIA buying ARM?
Yeah.
NVIDIA, imagine an ARM-NVIDIA combination. That might be.
Actually, I think, didn't NVIDIA make the original ARM chip for Windows PCs, the Windows 8 one?
They did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You are
I think
correct.
that was NVIDIA.
Oh. Yep, Surface RT. Yep.
Yeah. And that was that was...
that was
I can't believe it was not still using that.
That was a barn burner. Yeah. That's the first thing Satya Nadella did. Kill that sucker. Boom, dead.
Hey, remember how you rode that thing like a skateboard? Ride it right on out of here.
But Microsoft and NVIDIA are big partners, right? So if that does happen, that kind of further cements that as being something going forward as a positive.
I mean, Terry Myerson said this explicitly, that he saw this thing running on multiple ARM chipsets. Like, that was always the plan.
There's a giant cat in here. Oh, my God. Don't look. Don't look.
Yes.
Because of perspective, Sriracha actually looks larger than you.
So I think the cat would prefer an Intel chipset, so she has something warm to lay on.
Warm is good.
Or he is.
He likes the warmth of the laptop.
Yeah. Oh, let's not forget the Tegra. That's right. I completely forgot about the Tegra.
No, actually, you know what? Let's forget the Tegra. But because that was...
It's in my... It didn't go well.
No, but I have a Android TV device.
Oh, really?
That's fantastic.
What is it?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. Chat room.
Oh, wait, you mean the Shield?
The Shield, NVIDIA Shield.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. Actually, that's true.
That's a spectacular
so that's interesting.
device. And it plays games.
Like it's a simpler, Yeah. It's more like a phone, right? So you can basically take phone games and they work.
No, because there's GeForce Now. So it's the xCloud of NVIDIA. Been around longer than xCloud, and it is spectacular. It really works beautifully thanks to this
so you can run like PC games on it.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that's how I played Sea of Thieves.
But I bet those PC games running up in the cloud are running on x86 chips, not ARM chips.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's GeForce Now. I bet you they're not. I bet you.
Really?
Well, it's from NVIDIA.
No, I understand, but I mean, you have to. The game has to be playing. I mean, how do you emulate a?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're right.
Triple
If
A.
the games
On
don't
the
support
server,
it.
you mean,
You're right.
right?
They have to do Intel. Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so.
They're probably running on Xboxes. You managed to run them. And that's not Intel, right? Or it is. It's x86. It's AMD, though.
It's AMD. Is what it is.
Yeah. Still can't get an Xbox Series X, by the way.
Well, $1,000. We could be talking.
Yeah, we had somebody on Twitter who said, "Yeah, Will Harris said I finally did the eBay tax." And
Wow.
Oh no, really? How much?
I think 1,000, close to that. Yeah.
Ah, jeez, that's tough.
I know. It's
Wow.
rough. I know. I can't do it.
That's not good.
I don't want to support those guys. They're the ones making it hard
I know,
to get.
I know. It's not right.
Anyway, the Nintendo Switch is a Tegra
Is it really?
processor, according
That's
to
funny.
Web 6870. Yeah.
So another example of ARM doing great everywhere but Windows. You know,
Yep.
it's just it's amazing.
Is there something about the Windows architecture that makes it particularly hard to do on a RISC platform, you think?
I honestly, I'm just guessing because I don't know. But one of the things if you read about the history of Windows, if you read, this is probably in Showstoppers. If not, it's going to be in any of these other books about. No, it's in Showstoppers. You know, the original goal of Windows NT, which became Windows, was to be cross-platform. Remember, this thing was going to run on PowerPC, MIPS, x86 obviously, and then what was the Itanium eventually. That was the point of it. It was platform agnostic. But Bill Gates, Microsoft, they wanted to bring it to the masses. The masses were on PCs. PCs run on Intel, x86. They started making these concessions, and they started writing things in x86 assembly language to optimize them to be as fast as possible. They moved the graphic stuff, which was previously separate, into the kernel. They did all the stuff that really just tied Windows to that architecture. And it's still technically cross-platform. Obviously, we have an ARM port today, but it's so heavily optimized for x86. It's just the Wintel term that people always throw this thing around because it means Intel and Microsoft, and it means these chips in Windows, and and it does. But honestly, I think there's a really low level version of Wintel where Windows and the x86 architecture are just intertwined. And I think the reason, by the way, that M1 thing works on the Mac is because Apple took OS 10 at the time, stripped out a lot of the stuff and made it for mobile OS that was going to run on whatever architecture. It could have run on different things. Remember, the iPad was going to run on an Intel chip originally, or at one point it could have. But by the time they brought it back to the ARM architecture, they had already done all that work on mobile. They'd already made it super efficient. So they had a lot of work done. I think on the Microsoft side, they just don't have a mass market mobile platform to guide the way. It's possible Windows could have evolved differently if Windows Phone had taken off in any way.
Well, yeah, as Edmonton Oiler guy is pointing out in the chat room, NT ran on DEC's Alpha chips.
Alpha, that's right. Yep. Yeah, that was the first 64-bit one it ran on. In fact, that was. Yep.
That was Dave Cutler's favorite.
That's right. That's why he wasn't there at the NT 5.0 workshop. I was told by Yusuf Mehdi. He was off working on 64-bit stuff on Alpha, which at the time was still. I think it was still DEC. Compaq bought them, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think. And then Compaq got swallowed by HP.
I know we're not done with WOA, but I need to take a break. So,
Whoa, man.
Whoa, man. I love your headline, WOA, DOA, D-O-A. But I don't think it is. Do you? No.
No, but I wonder if it has a future on Windows. I think that's...
It's just resting. Maybe it's just resting.
It's just resting. It's hunting rabbits at a farm. It's fine.
Just resting. Our show today brought to you by Barracuda. Every 11 seconds, this is so awful, there's a new ransomware attack. It's been classified now as terrorism by the U.S. government. Such a toll on organizations of all kinds. And I really hate when I see nonprofits and hospitals and city governments and schools hit by ransomware. Ransomware, according to the 2021 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, has more than doubled year over year. You should read. I love Barracuda's Threat Spotlight research blog. It's great, and they actually took apart some ransomware incidents, and some of the insights there are fantastic. Millions of dollars, companies held hostage. Barracuda has a simple line: don't pay the ransom. But honestly, there's only one way to really, successfully not pay the ransom, it's not to get the ransomware in the first place. Protect yourself and your company before a ransomware attack occurs. And Barracuda is here to help you plan to be, proactively to prevent ransomware. It starts with training your teams to recognize phishing attacks. That's often how ransomware starts. An innocent-looking email, sometimes even from the boss, or seeming to be from the boss, to trick your employees. Train your teams to recognize that attack. It's actually worked pretty well, and I'm always sending notes out to the team. I get notes. It's funny. I get notes from the security people at iHeart, because I do a show for iHeart, and every week they send out training emails, saying watch out for this. You got to really be cynical and suspicious. I hate to say it. A lot of people don't want to do that. Another big one for companies is secure your web apps. Things like file sharing services, web forms, e-commerce sites. We talk about it all the time on security now. They're often full of exploits, and hackers know about them. And then they do a Shodan search. They find, the servers, the apps that are broken, and they get right in. And once they're in, they go after your business data. So make sure you're up to date. Protect your applications. Keep them up to date. Keep an eye out for problems. And of course, everybody knows this, but nobody does it well, I guess. Back up your data. Ransomware doesn't work if you've got a good backup, offline backup somewhere. And then you can, if you do, you can quickly recover your data without paying the ransom. Barracuda says simply, don't pay the ransom. Build your ransomware protection plan now. Before they strike, go to barracuda.com/Windows. They'll help you put that plan together. BARRACUDA.com/Windows. And I do highly recommend, and you'll find it right there. The Threat Spotlight research blog is fantastic. Good, just, regular reading so that I can keep up on what's going on. Barracuda.com/Windows. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. And thank you for supporting Windows Weekly by using that address so they know you saw it here. Barracuda.com/Windows. So I see here it says in the show notes that, Paul, you have hands-on with the developer, Windows on ARM developer PC. Did they send you one?
No, I bought it.
You bought it. Good man.
And I'm going to be selling it if anyone is interested, preferably if you live in the United States.
It's pretty. It's the lever. The lever.
Yeah, it's like a Roku with ports.
All right, it was only a couple $100. Let's point out you didn't like it.
It was $220. Yeah.
You didn't break the bank.
Look, I'll give you a tip right up front. If you are a developer, the point of this is you're a developer and you want to target ARM as a Windows developer. Right? You can target x86, x64, but also ARM64, and you should. And this gives you a device to run your apps on natively, and that's fine. But I would recommend spending another $125 getting a Samsung Galaxy Book Go. That comes with a keyboard, trackpad, and a screen. It's the same computer, basically. It's a better deal.
It's a Snapdragon as well?
Yeah. So here's the deal. So this is a Snapdragon 7C.
Oh, it's tiny.
First gen.
Oh, no, that's the power supply. That's
the power brick. No, it's about the size of a Roku. It's got some port. If you actually hold it there for 1 second. So there's a second USB port on the side. There's that USB port you see on the back. There's USB-C port on the back, but it's connected to power.
That's the power port.
Yeah, so you don't really have a lot in the way of expandability. I wanted to try to do that First Ring show with Brad Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember, with this device. And man, did I work hard to make that work. It doesn't work with a lot of the hardware I have. There was a trick because of the number of ports. I had to use a lot of Bluetooth devices to get it, because you need a keyboard, a mouse, a screen. I wanted to use this mic I'm using now, so there's USB for that. A USB webcam, of course.
You need a dongle is what you need.
Yeah, but I couldn't get any that worked. So it took me a while to figure this out. But then got everything working, got into Teams. I did a test call. It sounded fine. And I was like, oh my God, this thing is slower than molasses, by the way. This is really hard to even, I don't know how you would do this on your computer, but if you could do something where it put in a 10-second pause every time you clicked on everything, that's what Windows on ARM is like on this chipset. It's terrible. So it's 4 gigs of RAM. It's really slow eMMC storage.
God.
It's the worst ARM processor imaginable. This thing already doesn't run great on the best HCX Gen 2 chip there is. So Not surprisingly, it doesn't run great on this thing. As soon as we connected, the thing froze up completely. It just died. It's incapable of making a Teams call. So it's just, it really, I think it's designed so you push one app to it from Visual Studio, you run it. Let me look at that picture you can see now if you're watching this on screen. See the Qualcomm logo? Literally a paper sticker stuck to the front of it.
It's pretty crappy looking.
Yeah, this is not put a lot of money into this, It's about as light as a can of air.
It's kind of like a pricey Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. And by the way, you'd probably have a much better experience than a Raspberry Pi. Especially, I think you can get a Raspberry Pi with 8 gigs of RAM now.
Yeah. And it runs
SSD
Windows.
storage. Yeah. Probably be better. But the point of this, of course, is to run those ARM64 apps. So, I don't know. Yeah. It's not great. But it could be yours for the low price of $100.
Do you
send me an email?
He's sincere, by the way. He's serious.
I am. I don't want it. Yeah, I'm not going to keep. Oh, here's the thing: you can't return it. So if you buy this from Microsoft, there were no refunds.
Oh man.
And I knew what I was doing. I knew I wasn't going to hold on to it. I knew, but I just wanted to see what it was like. See, is it possible? Could this thing be okay? It's not okay. Something's wrong.
You could run it in emulation on your Mac, and that's right. You hate Macs. Never mind.
I do.
It'd probably run better. Well, you said it would run better.
Mac hater Thurrott.
Wow. Nobody could be happier about that than Mary Jo Foley.
I have purchased more Macs than I bet most Mac fans have purchased.
Really?
I have owned an unbelievable number of Macintoshes. I always have at least one Mac in the house. Does
Stephanie prefer a Mac or is she Windows
No,
gal?
she hates Apple.
Yeah. Good. You belong together, you two.
Yes. It's her two peas in the pod. Actually, her hatred of Apple is slightly irrational, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's funny because Lisa was a big Windows user when we met, of course.
Yeah.
She was a Republican, a Windows user.
Her for a reason.
Yeah. She was all the things I stand against.
Sure.
But she had a BlackBerry. So by now, of course, I've completely propagandized her. And
she's like a hippie running through a field with flowers in her hair.
Right. Running Linux.
No, she's not that far yet. No. But she's happy with her Macs. Although we still in the business office, everybody's got Windows. You want Excel.
As they should.
Yeah.
I very much prefer Windows. I just do. And it's not, look, I absolutely have a lot more experience with Windows than I do with other platforms. But I really do. It's like phantom limb syndrome when I'm on the Mac. It's like I've got nothing else.
Where's my start menu? I can't.
I just want to grab something and drag it. And why doesn't it pick up? Why does it always click?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's hysterical.
It's hard to overcome decades of Windows use.
Sure. Muscle memory.
You build up efficiencies and
I understand.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I try.
PC market. Should we talk about Dell and HP?
Oh, are there other topics? Yes. So let's see. We must have they? We know that we're not getting a build of Windows today through the Insider program, right? So that's been erased. So there's
any
nothing
reason
really
for
new
that, or it's just Thanksgiving? They're not
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. In fact, isn't December kind of slow too?
Yeah, and I have a little thing about that much later in the notes because we'll get to that. But yes, they're basically off. So Dell and HP both in the past 24 hours or so released their quarterly earnings reports. Both did great. Dell, oddly, their quarter ended on October 29th for some reason. Whatever. I know. They don't always go quarter by quarter. HP's ended on October 31st, which is at least the end of the month. But the two things to remember here is HP is a bigger company in the PC market than Dell is, although that gap closed a little bit this quarter. Dell is a bigger company overall because they didn't split off their enterprise stuff, right? So they still sell servers and have enterprise services in-house, whereas HP split with HPE and is now half a company, so to speak. So HP today is PCs and printers. But if you look at their PC businesses, honestly, this quarter they were pretty damn close to each other. So what both of them experienced, and this is the reason I put this in the notes, was dramatic, like year-over-year net income, which is just, profit basically, was up like 3 figures. I mean, like 300 and something % in both cases. Revenues, however, which I think is the most, maybe the more relevant number, were in the 21% for Dell and up to 9.3% for HP. Both of them saw basically exactly the same thing. Consumer PC sales are through the roof, and consumer PC sales are either up a little bit in Dell's case or down in HP's case. And I think this kind of maps to what's going on in the world, because there was that big we're working from home. We will take any piece of junk computer we can get. PCs, had the best year, they've had in, 7 or 8 years, whatever it was. And then it's a year later. And so it's like, well, what's going to happen now? Do we expect this to go down? What's this going to go? And I think the way it's going is we're returning to more of a normal cycle. Both these companies have strong enterprise PC focus. And Lenovo does too, right? So it makes sense that roughly 2/3 of their sales would go to commercial customers, not to consumers. But I also think this maps to the way the world has changed. Now it's a kind of a hybrid work thing. And in a hybrid work world, in more cases than, say, maybe a year ago, companies rather than individuals will be looking at buying the computers that their employees are going to use, right? Because they expect them to come back to the office in some capacity or not. And this is the agreement we're making. It's like, hey, we notice everyone's quitting. How about if we gave you a new computer? That kind of thing. So, yeah, it's kind of anyway. I think this is almost back to normal, other than the growth we're seeing. As far as the mix of computers that are going out into the world. Because to me, it's always been kind of 2/3 commercial, 1/3 consumer, for a long time. That's all.
Okay.
That's what we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
was going to talk a little about my Surface.
Yes. Your
Yeah.
Surface experience.
Now,
Right,
just to be clear here, you're talking about you were organically, as I would say, offered Windows 11, right?
I was.
Not a seeker?
So
Never been?
No.
So you're kind of a unicorn, Mary Jo.
Why?
Because this doesn't happen a lot.
not
Although I guess
supposed
It's starting to
happening
happen
more and
because
more.
they're
Yeah, it's starting to happen
expanding the group of people who, if you have eligible hardware, you're getting an offer from Microsoft saying, so what comes up first? A couple months ago, I got something in Windows Update that said, hey, good news, your PC is eligible for Windows 11. But it's not ready yet, so just hold on, just wait. And then about 2 months after that, just last Friday, I think it was, I got a note in Windows Update that said, good news, you can get Windows 11 now if you want it. Or if you don't, you can stay on Windows 10. And if you want to stay on Windows 10, click this button, which is great. You have a choice, right?
Now, when you do that, does it tell you how long will that last?
I don't know. I didn't click that. I didn't click that button.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So my boss at ZDNet, Larry Dignan, he said, I've been offered it 3 times and I turned it down every time and I'm staying on Windows 10. And I'm like, oh.
So they keep, there you go. They keep offering it.
Yeah.
It's an offer you can't refuse.
Exactly. Well, you can't after 2025 because you'll be out of support. But
so they're just going to bug you every month now for
I
the
know.
next 2 years or whatever.
I know. So I just was feeling, I don't know, carefree and ready to try it. So I just hit upgrade. I didn't even back up my system. I'm just let's see what happens. Surface Laptop 3 should be great, right? It should be easy. It's Microsoft hardware. And so I clicked the upgrade button, took a shower, had breakfast, came back, still downloading. I'm like, oh, that's scary. Okay. But it was over Wi-Fi, so all right. Then did something else, came back, and then it was installing. Okay. I'm like, all right, good news. So then I had to go out to do something. So when I came back, the install had stalled and just, somewhere around 60%. It just was like, yep, we're done. So I restarted the PC and it started installing all over again from zero. And after about, 45 minutes or so, it said, okay, it's all set. And it popped up and it was there.
And it worked.
It worked. Everything's been working. Nothing has been broken. A lot of people said to me, oh, none of your drivers are going to work. Everything's going to be screwed up. Blah, blah. No, everything's good.
No, it should just work. I mean, that should be what happens.
It should be what happens, right? The one thing that at first the sound wasn't working, but I think it just wasn't recognizing the way I had set up the default for my sound. And then I just clicked it. It was all set. So good news is it's working. It's still working today. Haven't had any compatibility issues, knock on my wooden desk. And so far, so good. But it was a little rocky getting it on there. The new notepad icon is so ugly, but luckily it's... Yeah,
but
that's what counts.
It's an aqua color, just like notepads are.
Yeah,
right.
I know. Who has an aqua notepad, right? But everybody's like, what do you think of the new start menu? This, that. So we've talked on the show a lot about this. I wasn't somebody who right-clicked the taskbar, and so I don't miss a lot of the things that you guys are missing as power user features. For me, it looks like Windows with the icon smushed into the middle. And the start menu looks different, but I never used to use the start menu anyway.
It's funny that you use the word smushed because if you go into settings, it literally there's a smushed toggle. You can smush them or not smush them.
Is there really?
When you don't
call it smushed?
No, he's teasing.
Guys,
you. He's
you know what?
You.
You know what? There's so many weird terms they use at Microsoft.
Yeah, it's true. Smush could be one of them.
You never know.
You want your icon smushed, or you want them smushed up against the side?
Exactly.
Is it pronounced smushed or smooshed? I think we need. It's like a GIF debate.
This might just be a New England thing where
Smushed.
we're mispronouncing it as we would.
No. I think it's smushed. It's spelled smushed, but I think there are those who say smooshed.
They do.
Sure.
They do. But anyway,
I'm just trying to
everything is
stir
good.
the pot.
Everything is good. And I don't know. I'm debating now what to tell my mom because she's going to get this prompt one of these days soon where it's going to be like, do you want to go to Windows 11? And I'm sure she's going to tell me, I don't want to go to Windows 11. I barely understand Windows 10. But I might just secretly have her go there because I think it's going to be easy.
You think it's easier somehow?
I don't know if I'd say it's easier, but I'd say it's very familiar to most people who are using Windows 10, which is good. It's not a giant, having to wrap your head around something so crazy and so new. The one thing I really do hate, though, the little notifications thing where your calendar pops up or the calendar suddenly pops up. Why? I don't know. I don't understand it.
This is just misguided. Yeah,
I'm just like, why is my calendar showing up over there?
Right. It's kind of arbitrary how they divided those two pop-ups, and I agree.
Yeah. Everything else, though, very similar, very simple. Everything looks pretty much the way I left it. All my files are there. Yay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm 11, but that's only because I don't use Windows. So I just thought, well.
Why not?
Why not? I mean, I try not to use it.
Look, it's 6 months, 8 months, whatever, I guess a year from now, whatever, it's going to be a million times better or whatever. But even in its current state, I think that the thing they pulled off is it's familiar enough. If you use Windows, you get it. There's no training required. Right. And it's a little more attractive. It's a little more modern looking.
But it's not substantially different under the hood.
It's not. No.
That's arguably not any different.
Right.
Well, there's a few things that are different, right? Like, isn't File Explorer, aren't there things in File Explorer people are like all up in arms about? I don't know.
Oh, there are things and everything that people are in up in arms over. Yeah, for sure. But like the underpinnings are basically the same.
Yeah.
I mean, going forward, they're going to optimize things for Windows 11 and not Windows 10. And so I think the differences will expand, over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've hinted that some of the really hated things might be modified. Like I've seen people from Microsoft on Twitter saying, right now you can't do your old power user right click thing, but we're seriously considering bringing that back.
Well, they also said, we heard your complaints about the default apps. Don't worry about it. We'll get on that. And the way they got on it was to be even bigger jerks. So, who can say?
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, Leo, when people call into the radio show and they're like, I don't know, should I do Windows 11? I think they don't have to be afraid.
Really, just let them.
Well,
I know people are saying, oh, you're on the edge. Like, that's scary. You should give it more time. But I don't know. Based on my limited normal person experience.
The more average the user, so to speak, or the more, or the less technical the user, the less likely they have these complex things that they do, where they'll miss stuff.
Yep.
And it is prettier. I think most people would probably agree to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary. Well, or at least, Mary
It's
Jo
not
may
offensive.
not notice that.
It's prettier, but I still, the new start menu is a little, I don't know. I can't.
No,
Yeah.
I think normal people really like the new start menu once they figure what is happening. Like their documents that they most recently used are there, right? And for a lot of people, like I always go back to my mom because she's kind of like the typical, very not technical user. She always saves things and she's like, I don't know where I put it. It'll be right there,
there.
on this list, you know?
Yeah. There or your desktop.
Yeah.
Because that's where she put it.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. There's 8,000 icons on her desktop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mostly I use the start menu to run an app, to type the first few letters of an
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you can't, maybe this is something weird about but I start typing update. And it doesn't, that's mostly what I do is type Windows Update,
Yeah.
right? Update.
Yeah.
Right.
And it didn't find Windows Update. It was like weird. And I had to type Windows Update.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I don't, maybe that was just me.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. They don't want you to go to Windows Update, really.
Maybe that was it. Maybe they're just, you don't want that.
No, the way my mom sees it, it's like,
Here's Microsoft
the
Teams.
Yeah, you want
Yeah,
Teams.
the icon will
want
show
Teams,
up on your. The icon shows up on the right corner for her, and she sees this little thing that shows like I'm supposed to do something. When she clicks on it, then she goes to
Then
Windows
she
Update,
knows.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's anodyne. I don't have anything against it. It's just
Yeah.
I don't have anything really for it either.
Right. Everybody's like, so what's the main reason to upgrade? I'm like, there really isn't a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just the new.
I mean, Microsoft.
the new thing.
Microsoft argues security, right? They're like, it's more secure because you have to use. I'm like, yeah. So you're just kind of highlighting the features that are already in there, like TPM2, right,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you were running that same system on Windows 10, it would be just as secure.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. So there.
And then you have the problem with the default app choices that we've talked about before. So if you want to run another browser,
one that I think, yeah, that one
Yeah.
might bite people. If you've
That
chosen
might.
Chrome for whatever reason,
Yeah.
you upgrade to Windows 11, you come back,
Yeah.
you click on something and it launches Edge. And you're like, oh, I guess I got to fix that. Or maybe Chrome might even just notify you. And then instead of going to the system where you can just make the change, you're presented with this blank page that it's not clear where to go from there. Mm-hmm. And then if you got help, if you figure it out, you got a lot of clicking to do because you got to go through every single
and you
whatever
don't know
it is,
what most of
document
those
type,
things
file
are,
type,
right?
protocol. No, you have no idea.
Is it a cause for concern that you really have to use Edge with it? I mean, that it's unreasonable to expect any other
Yeah.
browser to. I mean, your mom uses Edge.
So
She
here's
doesn't care.
how I think I don't like it, right? I think we've discussed this, but here's what to compare it to. Mary Jo is a good example. Mary Jo is running Microsoft Edge on her phone. She's got a new Pixel 6 Pro. Yep. She configured Microsoft Edge as the default browser. If you go to the Google Discovery feed, or if you go to anything Google Assistant related, like that search bar on the front home screen you can't get rid of, that's running Chrome. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what you chose,
Yep.
like it's the same thing, right?
It
and
is.
I'm sure there are examples of Apple doing this on iPhone that I don't know about or care about or whatever, but it's the same behavior. Now, does that make it okay? No, right? They're all doing the same terrible things, but we've already discussed this. Microsoft has this desire for you to run, to access Bing, to access MSN, to use Microsoft Edge, and they built little hard links into Windows 11. And apparently they're going to protect them against incursion. So that's the business decision they've made.
Yep.
I mean, will this impact a normal person? I don't know. I mean, if your mother, would a normal person even think? I guess they would. So maybe they're running Chrome, right? So they click on
That's
something
the problem,
in widgets.
right? Yeah.
Right. And it comes up with
So-
Edge. Would this be confusing or weird for them? Probably, right?
Probably. I think probably.
If they even knew. I mean, most people. I often ask people on the radio show what browser you're using, and they
I
go,
know,
"What do you
people
mean?"
don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Well, that's why it was called
I think
the
it
Internet.
would just be.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Windows
I think it would just
95.
be like unusual because you'd see something else that looked a little different come up, right? And you'd be like, "What's that?"
Yep.
Cognitive
Why is that
dissonance.
happening?
Well, especially the first time, it would start asking you to sign in, to complete setup, and you're like, "What is this? I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. We've already.
Well, and I'm just not a
Complained
fan of
about it
being,
last week.
shoehorned
railroaded.
into
Of course.
Wow.
that.
Yep.
And that's to me, that's a big deal. But,
No, the natural reaction to that is like, Oh, no. Now you've made me want to use another browser.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you see people saying this on Twitter. Like, I was using Edge, but now forget it because you guys are trying to force me to use Edge now.
That's a lot of people, Paul and I apparently, it's a natural anti-authoritarian streak. Whatever you tell us to do, we're going to do the opposite.
I was just hanging out here, and now you're making me want to grab a pitchfork and storm the castle. You know,
I think it's going to backfire on them more than it's going to help.
I think so too.
I believe.
Yeah.
Well, we can ask Chris Caposello about it because he's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. Very excited. Marketing boss at Microsoft. Is he CMO? Is that his title?
CMO,
Chief Marketing Officer. And always great. And Chris, it's not too late to send me a Microsoft Christmas sweater. I will wear it if I have it. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with more. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Windows Weekly continues on. Our show today brought to you by Akamai. Hawaiian for cool. I just found that out. I think that's so cool. AKAMAI. You know the name. Akamai powers and protects life online. Actually, you probably know it powers life online. It's easily the #1 CDN, the best CDN out there. Nobody comes even close. They have 10 times the locations of the nearest competitor, over 4,000 locations. So Akamai brings you closer to your end user. But did you know that Akamai also protects life online? Akamai has built the largest, most sophisticated edge platform in the world, and it's used by the biggest innovators to power and protect their biggest ambitions. You can go to akamai.com/WW and see how Akamai powers and protects life online for their customers, maybe for your customers too. Akamai stops some of the most dangerous threats launched at the internet and everyone online. And Akamai has some of the best experts and threat researchers. They're sitting there on the front lines of protecting and delivering digital experiences. And because of their proximity and the scale of Akamai, they can help developers build better apps, put experiences closer to their customers, and do it more safely. Akamai's industry-leading 0-second SLA. 0-second SLA. I love that. And 100% platform availability means they've got your back. So you know they are committed. They're there for you. In short, Akamai keeps your digital experiences closer to users than anyone and threats farther away. With Akamai, you can provide the best possible experience for your customers. They get the content, the apps, the sites, the video they need without lag, without interruption or latency, even during unexpected traffic spikes. In fact, that's one of the things that Akamai is so great about because, you know, traffic on the internet is in its nature spiky. You can prepare for spikes in demand and optimize resources to provide the best experience for your customers. You'll be amazed at Akamai's unparalleled performance. And, of course, you're always just one network hop away from 85% of the world's internet users. That's what all those pops mean. Akamai gives you the power to innovate right at the edge. Your logic and functions are deployed and active at the nearest proximity to your end users, so you're getting the fastest end user experience around the globe. They make it simple to build right at the edge using JavaScript, so you can innovate in real time. You get low latency access to data for custom code at the edge, and they can optimize your API traffic delivery for edge applications. I'm not talking about Microsoft Edge, by the way, when I'm saying that. I mean the edge of the internet close to your users. Let's make that clear. Akamai, you know them, you know their reputation. Everybody uses Akamai. All top 50 global media companies, all top 20 global e-commerce companies, all top 50 global telecom carriers. 500 banks globally use Akamai, including the top 25 in the U.S. and 22 of the top 25 in Europe and the Middle East. I mean, they basically ran the card on that. Akamai's there powering and protecting digital experiences in a way no one else can. You're getting 10 times the locations of the competition for the fastest customer experience available. You're getting the market leader in CDN, in video delivery, in web performance, in DDoS prevention, in web application firewall. Just nobody can compete with Akamai when it comes to setting you up for success and scalability online. You could check it out at akamai.com/WW. Please use that URL so they know you saw it here. You can learn how Akamai powers and protects life online. Give your customers the best possible experience online. And by the way, there's really no reason not to see for yourself what life with Akamai is all about. And it's cool. Akamai.com/WW. WW. Bring your big idea to life online with Akamai. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Windows Weekly on the air. Page 2. Or 3. Might be 3.
Yep, 3.
Might be 3. It's Xbox time.
Yep.
Is there a big Black Friday thing for? I'm seeing some pretty good deals this year for Black Friday. Any deals on the Series X?
No.
No.
I do have a little Series S thing later, but no, nothing.
I don't want the S. I can get the S, right? The S is the lower powered one.
But it's so cute. It's so small and cute.
I don't care. I want the power. Give me more power. Apparently, I'm not alone because you can get the S.
Yeah. So that's changed, by the way. In the beginning, you couldn't get either one of them. So, yeah, the S does seem to be more available.
Yeah.
No, there's no deals on that. Sorry. How do you feel about an Xbox One, huh? We can probably get you one of those.
The original? The original?
Yeah, the original. Do you want like a day one?
The 20th anniversary day. I did have a day one of the Xbox One.
That one I did too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still have the controller. That's how I know.
See, I have everything but the controller. Together, we have a full set. Because I destroyed my controllers. I'm an ape.
Yeah, I put that one in. I framed that and put it aside.
Yeah, nice.
In a box.
Let me know if you want the console. I don't think that's going anywhere.
I still have the console. That's what I use.
Yeah. No, okay. That's what, geez, really?
No, wait a minute. I got the S. I got the One S,
okay.
right? That's
Yes.
the successor to that. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
Somebody said to check your email. Microsoft is sending email to valued customers. I don't know.
This bugs me, okay? Because how do they determine that?
Yeah.
How would you know that? I think me having an Xbox Live Gold account since 2001 should put me on a list.
That's your count.
You know, that's, I don't know, nothing. No. How about me turning on an Xbox every single day of my life? Does that mean anything to anybody? No. Okay. I got nothing. I haven't gotten it yet. I can tell you that.
I got the bundle.
Anyhow.
I don't know. Why did I get one?
You did?
Did you really?
You got the
really?
Email? Did you really?
Are you serious?
Notepad users.
That'd be hilarious if I did. No.
Oh, man. I would have lost it. Yeah, that's just, of course you did. That would be so beautiful.
Wouldn't that be
They're like,
funny?
Yeah, they sent me an Xbox Series X. It's like holding a
so
door open
funny.
in the corner there.
Sorry. Get your hope up.
Yeah, you teased us. You did. I'm searching all my mail accounts right now for something.
Yeah, I got
Microsoft.
I got nothing.
Nothing.
I get stuff like, get 20% off of a Western Digital thing you don't need. Thanks. Anyhow. All right. So as far as Xbox goes, though, they are having a Black Friday sale. It's on right now. It's going through December 2nd, which is when? December 2nd is actually a week from tomorrow. Jeez, it's like the end of the month here. Anyway.
Yeah.
So up to 67% off of over 700 digital games. There's some classics like Gear 5, Rare Replay, Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice that are as low as $10. Xbox Game Studio games are up to 75% off. And some classics there too. Psychonauts 2, Gears 5, Halo, the Master Chief Collection, if you don't have that yet. God help you. Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 4, which is last year's game. 75% up off on select PC games, 95% off, sorry, on Game Pass for PC when you get your first 3 months for $1, which is kind of an ongoing thing they do. 40% off select gaming accessories and up to $500 off gaming PCs and laptops. So kind of across everything except consoles, basically. What else we got? Last week, I think it was, or maybe early this week. I'm losing track of when things are. But Microsoft released the Game of the Year edition for Flight Simulator, or as I call it, the Tom Brady edition.
The GOAT simulator.
Yeah. So if you have Microsoft Flight Simulator in any capacity, you're getting this for free, right? So what basically this is everything that's come out from Microsoft Flight Simulator already, plus new aircraft, new airports, new discovery flights, updated weather systems, and it has all the world. They've released, I think, 6 world updates so far. It's all kind of piled in. There's new tutorials, missions. It goes on and on. And so it's a really big update. This is like, like Windows 11 will be next year. It's the, the thing they probably wanted to release on day one, but they, now they have that. So we mentioned the console situation. Xbox Series S is, I guess, at least somewhat available. So they've released a bundle for it. And this is kind of interesting because the 2 games in the bundle, Fortnite and Rocket League, are both free. So why would I want to buy this thing? Well, two reasons. It's not any more expensive than the normal bundle. It doesn't change the console. You just get the normal white console. But it includes 1,000 Fortnite V-Bucks, 1,000 Rocket League credits, and something called the Midnight Drive Pack, which is somehow available for both those titles. I don't know anything about either one of these games. But anyway, it's basically a way, if you're a fan of either one of these games or both, it's just a way to get that console. And these kind of, older is not the right word, but they don't require a lot of system resources. So these are the kind of games that will run awesome on this console. Like they run great on anything. So they're really good games. But and my son actually is a big fan of both these games. And the other, this is a little weird, but normally right at the end of the month, Microsoft releases the set of titles they're releasing through Xbox Gold, Games with Gold. It's too many of these names. Every month. Now, they released this list, I think, yesterday, which is well before the end of the month, like over a week before the end of the month. But I think this is tied into that whole we're away for the holidays thing. So Microsoft, I think not a lot of people are going to be in the office between now and next month. And then they'll be in the office for a week or two, and then we'll see them again in January. So they released this list early. There's some good stuff on here. So The Escapist 2 is coming. Tropico 5, which is kind of you're like a world builder, but you're a dictator, which is kind of fun. Orcs Must Die, kind of a third person shooter.
I agree with that.
Really
I think Orcs Must Die. Yeah. I do.
Yeah, Orcs Must Die. Yeah,
they must.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not as good as zombie Nazis, but they're up on the list on things that are okay to kill,
Yeah.
So
when I come in and Michael's playing Call of Duty, I go, "Oh, come on, man!" And he says, "But I'm killing zombies." I go, "Okay, have at it. Go for it."
Yeah, it's just conscience-free killing.
A zombie Nazi. That's just the worst.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Let me look at my list here. Yeah, so that's most of it. I mean, yeah.
That's it all. That's everything. The complete, everything you ever wanted to know about Xbox, but we're afraid to ask.
You cannot have a console unless it's an S.
Should I get the S?
No. You're going to be unhappy.
I want 4K.
You're going to regret it.
I want 4K.
Yeah, no, then you don't want an S.
Wait.
I'm going to wait until next year.
Yeah, but first of all, so we've had a year for games to kind of catch up. We've actually had a few games come out that are X and S specific, right? Like Flight Simulator is a good example.
Yeah.
That thing is going to look significantly better and play better.
Yeah.
The other problem with the S is it only comes with, I think it's 512 gigabytes of storage, which is like, really?
Yeah.
And you can buy storage, but it's really expensive.
It's interesting. PlayStation 5 has eased up quite a bit, it seems.
I think you can just buy an SSD. You mean you mean this? I'm sorry.
PlayStation
you're talking about
5
availability.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But
it's probably a little easier to expand a PlayStation 5 too.
It's weird because I bought an external drive for Michael, but you can only move games. You can't play PlayStation 5 games off an external drive.
Microsoft's the same way.
thing.
So if you have like a USB 3 drive, you can play the older games.
Yeah,
yep, that's exactly right.
Games. Is there an internal upgrade or?
Yes, so it's really just an SSD probably inside, but they it's like everything else in the video game world. They're branded and they're in a special cartridge kind of a deal. And there's only last time I checked, I don't know if it was 512 or 1 terabyte, but there weren't that many options. I don't think there still are many options, and they're expensive. They're way more expensive than that thing would cost if you bought it. Just the storage. Yeah. Which is why I mentioned the PlayStation 5. I believe if you buy certain types of SSDs. Yeah, they will work fine.
They have to be certified, and then you open it up to put them in. And if I had known that, I would have bought him that instead. Yeah, but now he's
if he plays a mix of games, it's still useful to have storage where the old games aren't taking up the space or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Normally we'd take a break here. I have another ad, but we're so close to the last ad. Why don't we do some tips and stuff, and I will keep people waiting for the Thanksgiving cocktail pick of the week. How about that? How about that?
Sounds fine.
So, Paul Thurrott, kick us off. Back of the book, tip of the week.
Yeah, so I have 2 tips this week. One is actually related to Xbox. I almost threw that just in the normal notes, but this is kind of fun. So they brought back, they brought back 4 of the alumni from the original Xbox generation, right?
Oh, how fun.
And they had a special event hosted by former Nintendo of America, what's his name? President, I guess, and CEO, I'm going to pronounce his name right, Reggie Fils-Aimé or something. But it had Robbie Bach, the original Marble in the Mouth guy, Ed Fries, Peter Moore, who went on to came with great success and went on to much greater success, and then someone I've never heard of, Bonnie Ross. It's an awesome conversation. It's worth watching. They hosted. I don't know if it was really live or not. Supposedly it was live when they did it originally, but it's like 45 minutes of conversation, and it's really, really. If you're into the Xbox at all, this is totally worth watching.
Oh, fun! Yeah,
really good.
Good times.
Yeah. And the other one is if you're a Chrome user, and God help you if you are, but if you are, and you're using Windows 11, among the many things you should change is there's a way to enable Windows 11 style menus now, which basically just means they curve corners. The menus themselves have not really changed. Like if you right click something or if you bring down the system menu in Chrome, it's the same. It's the same style. It's Chrome, right? It's not like a Windows 11 style, but you can get the curved corners. And as you would expect, you do this through that Chrome ://flags interface. And if you have the latest version of Chrome, this feature is optional. I think in Chrome, this is Chrome 96, so in Chrome 98, I think it is, it will just be enabled by default. But for now, just search for Win 11 dash style menus, and you can enable that. You can enable it in Windows 10 if you want. It will work there as well if you want that. So that's fun.
Nice.
And then, so the app pick of the week, this one's kind of interesting. So if you're familiar with how the iPhone works now, I think starting with probably iOS 14.5, Apple enabled a way to block app tracking, like tracking through apps. And the way they do it, I don't have an iPhone anymore to test this, but my understanding is the way that it works is the first time an app comes up and tries to track you, Apple throws up a dialog and says, hey, this app's trying to track you. And you can actually agree to it if you're like, yeah, I love Facebook. Why not? Go to town. I don't care about all the evil stuff you do. You could do that, but most people have actually said, no, I don't want the app to track me, and that's
something like 85%, I think.
Yeah, which good for those people, right? It's smart. So we don't really have that on Android. And I think we all understand Google and the way they make money well enough to understand we're never going to have that on Android. However, DuckDuckGo figured out a way to add this to Android. And they do that through their mobile app. I think they have a few apps, but their main app, DuckDuckGo, has a new feature in beta. It's invite only right now, but you can sign to be on the list. It's called App Tracking Protection. And what it does, this is genius, it uses a feature of Android, which is you can have a local VPN, which doesn't connect to any external servers, but it functions like a VPN by intercepting traffic. And by default, this thing will block all the trackers that it knows about on all of the apps on your phone. And it's like using a VPN. You get a little key icon up in the corner there, up in the status bar in Google. It is astonishing how many trackers are happening. Now, granted, some of them are not malicious, right? Some of them are metrics based or like telemetry kind of things or whatever, like quality of service type deals. But a lot of them, it's like, what is going on here? And there was a statistic. Let me see if I can find this. They basically looked at some hundreds of the top apps on Android, which is like every app on Android, like the apps actually people run, and some gigantic majority of them. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the exact number. 87% of them send data to Google. And 68% of them send data to Facebook. Like, just to block that. So they let me into the program. I'm using it. I'm going to keep it on. I look at it like, it's sort of like, I don't know what to call it. Like if you have a fitness tracker and it tracks your sleep, you kind of look at it, you're like, I don't know what I can do about this, but you can just see what it is. Like, I slept like crap last night. Great. Of course I did. I always do. But it's like the sheer hundreds of trackers that it blocks every single day. In 3 days, it had blocked 50. I think it was 51 or 5,200 trackers in just 3 days. And some of these are apps I hadn't run. Like the Bose Music app was one of them. United, which I had installed but not signed into, were both sending trackers out. And it's like, what is going on here? So this is something to pay attention to. You don't have to make DuckDuckGo your default browser, your default search, or any of that stuff, but this thing will run in the background all the time, intercept tracking. You can disable it for apps individually if you want to. I didn't see a way to disable individual trackers. I think one thing I'd like to see is an explanation of what the trackers, like, because I had to Google them. Some of them I just look, I'm like, what is this thing, And some of them it's just like they're designed for developers. It's not really aimed to, well, It doesn't seem malicious to me, but there were legitimate reasons for app developers to want to know how the apps are doing or whatever, that kind of thing. Like, I get that. Like, I think it'd be interesting if I could say, just turn off Google and Facebook for everything, And then maybe these other ones are okay. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe over time, because it's only in beta, it will become more granular. But it's astonishing. Like, it's astonishing how much this thing has blocked. Scary.
Good. Nice. And I think DuckDuckGo is a good company. And
yeah, I do too.
They do good work. All right.
It's ingenious, this particular solution. It's really smart.
It's clever, yeah. Our show today brought to you by Udacity. What a great place to go to learn the skills you need to get a job in tech. And that's really what Udacity is all about. And it comes down to these nanodegree programs designed in partnership with big tech companies, partly because the big companies realize that people coming out of four-year and even graduate programs in computer science often didn't have the skills they needed to do the job in these companies. In fact, Udacity was started more than a decade ago by a Googler who wanted to give people those skills because he had a up close and direct experience of how much they needed these people, and it's still the case. Udacity offers you an online education program that's geared specifically toward people looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level. If you listen to these shows, that's you. I think that's safe to say. Udacity is specialized in exciting content that can help take you farther in the career you want, and they offer the latest cutting-edge nanodegree programs you can't find anywhere else. Really, they're all about career growth. They want to give you the information about the career you want, give you the skills for that career, and then help you get the job. I'll give you a great example. Udacity is global, by the way. It's all over the world. In fact, one Udacity graduate had lost his job. He's Nigerian. It was at a Nigerian airline thanks to COVID. They laid off a lot of people. He said, I want to work in tech because I think there's a future there. He applied for a scholarship. Actually, it was a machine learning scholarship program for Microsoft Azure. Within 6 months of getting the scholarship, he transitioned into a career as a data analyst. Much happier, doing a job he loves. Check out Udacity's top 5 nanodegree programs. Data engineering, not surprising, right? Product manager. A lot of people, I think, may be working in tech but would like to move up to product manager. Take the course. Take the course. Data analyst, data scientist, programming for data science with Python. If you're looking into getting into the most cutting-edge technology careers, you can get nanodegree programs in AI, in flying car and autonomous flight engineer. I love that. Machine learning engineer and more. They're working with the biggest companies, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, to design these nano programs. In fact, they select team leads at the top companies to be your instructor. These nanodegree programs are, I think, unique in the industry, and they're great. You're going to get the right knowledge from experts who are working in the field every day. When signing up for a nanodegree program with Udacity, you can expect courses to be project-based. I think that's really important. You got to have the hands-on active learning so you can test your knowledge. And really, that's how you build your knowledge, is doing it. Homework and projects are always going to be reviewed by qualified professionals. You'll get real human feedback, code reviews, just like you'll get in the industry. But you're not alone. You have access to mentors 24/7. And it is completely flexible because Udacity knows you probably have another job. You can do this whole thing in as little as 5 to 10 hours a week at your own pace and graduate in as little as 3 months. I wanted to let you know about one particular online scholarship that just started. 110 Blacks in Technology and Udacity have teamed up to offer part-time online tech scholarships for Black Americans who don't have a 4-year degree. So if you qualify, there are 2,000 full scholarships available. That is amazing. Apply today at udacity.com. If you just scroll down to the bottom of the webpage and under resources, you'll see scholarships. Actually, there's a lot of scholarships there. You should check. But this one's specifically for Black Americans who don't have a 4-year degree. And I should mention also, if you're a business, this applies to you too. You can upskill your whole workforce with Udacity. There's an enterprise section on the Udacity website. Check that out to learn more. Bottom line, get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career with Udacity. Udacity, like Audacity without the A, udacity.com/twit. Find out more. It is, I think, a great place to get the skills you need to get the job you want. Udacity.com/twit, UDACITY, udacity.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. You're supporting Windows Weekly when you use that address, so make sure you do. Let's go to the enterprise pick of the week. Mary Jo Foley, you're up.
Yes. The enterprise pick is something called SharePoint Server Subscription Edition. This is the newest on-premises version of SharePoint Server. You would think by the name it was a cloud thing, but it's not. What's a couple interesting things about this? So I've talked about this on the show before. The reason it's called Subscription Edition is even though it's a completely on-premises version of SharePoint Server, you have to buy a subscription with it. And the subscription is how you get your security updates and other product fixes and updates. So if you think it's optional to get the subscription, it is not. If you get this product, you have to buy the subscription alongside it. So this went general availability in early November, I guess around the time of Ignite. I never saw it in the book of news. I think probably because Microsoft is trying to downplay its on-premises servers and play up the cloud servers. But yeah, it's now generally available. And so the next question is, what about the other servers, right? What about the next version of on-prem Exchange Server and Skype for Business Server and Project Server? Good question. We don't know where those are. I don't think they're even in preview at this point. I asked Microsoft, hey, by the way, you said all of these next-gen on-prem servers with these service subscriptions were going to be out in calendar 2021. Where are they? Because now we're getting up to December, and they said, we'll look into that for you. And that was the last I heard. So, yeah. So if you're waiting for the other ones, I don't know where they are. I'm very doubtful you'll see them this calendar year, given, like Paul said earlier, in December, a lot of people at Microsoft are gone for most of the month. So I'm guessing this will be pushed into next year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Codename pick of the week.
Yeah. I don't know if this is technically a code name, but it was a funny name that we heard about earlier this year. Super Duper Secure Mode.
Oh,
Edge,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but this also has gone generally available. Microsoft made it part of Edge 96, which is out in the mainstream channel and to mainstream users now. I was just curious if I had it, so I went to my settings and then I went privacy, search, and services and scrolled all the way down. And yeah, there it is. In the settings, it's called Enable Security Mitigations to provide a more secure browser experience. So it's not called Super Duper Mode in there. But what it does, as we talked about earlier when we first heard about this service, is it removes JIT compilation from V8. And Microsoft has found a way to do this where they feel like it doesn't sacrifice performance, but it does make the browser way more secure. So you can try it right now yourself. In fact, I turned it on just to see what would happen. You have a balanced option and a strict option. So balanced is what they recommend. Blocks security threats. Most sites work as expected. And then strict is parts of sites might not work. So yeah, choose wisely when you choose your mode.
All right. There has been a change in the program. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, Leo. Hi, Mary Jo.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
Great to see you. Glad to get rid of Paul. So, are you excited about the cruise, by the way? We're all four of us are going to Alaska.
Yes. I'm very excited about the cruise.
It's going to be fun. That's July of next year.
Yep.
Cruise.twit.tv. There's more than 100 Twit fans going. And I know one of the things they can't wait is to get some of your cocktail recipes. You've been the star of this show. You didn't even know it.
Nice.
So tell us about your latest.
Okay, so I came up with a cocktail for Thanksgiving, and it is called the Cider-Cranberry Thanksgiving Cocktail. And
good name.
This is how you make it. Yeah. Thank you. Straightforward and descriptive.
Yes.
It's 2 parts apple cider.
Okay.
1 part cranberry juice.
Okay.
1 part vodka. No special type, any whatever vodka you like. 1 part maple simple, which is 50% maple syrup and 50% water. If you don't mix that together ahead of time, you can just put in half and half of those two.
So it's like simple syrup, but it's not. But that's not sugar. It's just maple syrup.
Exactly. Instead of the sugar, use the maple syrup.
Okay, good. All right.
And then a half part lemon juice, and you just mix everything together. It's super simple. Serve it over ice, and I would garnish it with frozen cranberries.
Oh, yum.
If you make it the way it's listed here, as with a shot of each part, you can make it as a glass, a single cocktail, and you could bulk this up and use everything as a cup or whatever and make it and batch it up and have people just pour it out themselves. You can make it ahead of time for Thanksgiving.
Nice. That is great. I might have to do that. I think that would be, we're having a bunch of people over, including some of our engineers from the studio. So
nice.
I know they want to get toasted. So this isn't that strong. It's only a shot of vodka in it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, if you wanted, you could definitely double the vodka. I thought it would be a better kind of light-ish Thanksgiving cocktail.
Yes.
You know, if you have any people who don't drink that often and you want to keep it a little tame.
Reduce the fist fight quotient. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Stephanie, it's great to see you. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too.
Have you heard from your son yet? Is he going to make it home?
He is waiting at the tire place to hear how long it's going to take.
No.
So it's taking a long time to even have them get to it.
Yeah.
He called 7 places, and this was the only place that could even see him today. So,
well, at least he's traveling today, not Thanksgiving.
true.
It could have been been worse. So he'll get there, even if it's late at night. So have a wonderful dinner tonight. I know you're doing something special, and then have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow with the family. That's
Thank you.
great. Thank you, Stephanie. See you in July.
See you in July.
Yay. I'm sorry, Mary Jo. I shouldn't mention that because I know it's probably rude.
No. It's totally fine.
If it goes well, we'll get you for the next one.
I'm excited to hear how it goes.
I think it's going to go great. Like I said, I have over 100 people booked. And,
that's great.
And I know there are people listening who probably would love to hang with Paul and Stephanie and Lisa and me.
And Richard Campbell's coming?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So he's doing that on his own dime, and Raphael on their own dime. So that's really great.
Right.
If this is it's turning out to be a Windows cruise. I'll do a little Linux thing in the corner. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
You're going to walk the plank if you do the
I know.
Linux thing.
Hey guys, come over here. The water's fine.
My wife is a big fan of frozen cranberries and drinks.
I think it's a great idea.
Possible I was drinking a little too much this night, but I ate one and I said, this is the worst cherry I've ever eaten in my life.
Man,
He said, yeah, it's a cranberry.
bitter.
No one eats the cranberries straight. No one. No. Oh, that's
you have to be
hysterical.
Candied cranberries or no.
Yeah.
No, just.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Paul. Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott, THURROTT.com. His Field Guide to Windows 10 is at leanpub.com. Soon, Field Guide to Windows 11 in process right now. Yeah. Mary Jo Foley writes about Microsoft for ZDNet at allaboutmicrosoft.com. I hope you both have a wonderful holiday.
Thanks.
You too.
Get right back to work next Wednesday. We do the show 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. You can watch it live.twit.tv if you like watching the sausage being made. You can also chat while you're watching. In this
Good
case,
for stuffing.
The cranberry. Yeah. Yeah, I have to make my grandmother's Italian
I love it.
stuffing. It uses Italian sausage and orange juice, and it's so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. I grew up on it, and so maybe it's just me.
Yeah. No, that sounds
I
good.
love it. I'll find that recipe, and I'll mention that. I'll post that somewhere. Actually, you know where I'll post it? In the Discord for Club Twit. We gotta give you a little extra for your contribution. $7 a month gets you access to that Discord, which is always a good time going on. Stacy had our book club in there last week. It was just really cool. The Twit Plus feed with extra stuff. In fact, I know Ant is going to try to get Steve Gibson back on. He didn't ask me anything, but now he wants to do a vitamin D special. That's fun.
I'm coming up on Ant's Ask Me.
Oh, when are you doing it?
think next Friday.
Oh, I didn't
Actually,
even know that. That's
Mary
great.
Jo, I just saw you in my podcast app. You're on Run As Radio this week.
I am. I'm on Richard
right?
Campbell's show.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Mary, aren't you worried about overexposure, Mary Jo?
I am. I'm very worried about this, but you know what?
I apparently, I didn't know this was coming, but I guess there's a new version of Windows out. So Mary Jo's talking about that.
Did you hear? There's this thing called Windows 11. I don't know if you
I
heard
did
that.
hear because I saw it on my podcast.
I just
app.
got it offered. Yeah. Yeah. So good. And so, Ask Me Anything with Mary Jo, that's going to be fun. That's next week. And then, of course, there's ad-free versions of all the shows, which interestingly shortens them significantly. So if you're in a time crunch, $7 a month, I think it's worth it. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit to subscribe. On-demand versions of the show still available for free and always will be at twit.tv/WW. Plus, of course, the YouTube channel for Windows Weekly. And you can subscribe with your favorite podcast client. There's audio and video versions of the show. Just search for Windows Weekly. And if you do, if you can leave a 5-star review, I don't want to beg, but
I'll do it.
Paul will. Please.
Please. You can't see me if I get on my knees from here because I'll just be below the frame. But
The top of Paul's head says, please. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to all of our U.S. listeners. And thank you so much for being here. We're very grateful for you. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, you don't have to wait till the weekend to get the tech news you need. Join Jason Howell and myself, Micah Sargent, for Tech News Weekly, where we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news.